on this computer. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to an Unstoppable podcast with me, Megan Farrell, your host. And I'm here today with some good friends of mine, but they are going to have so much value on this podcast to add. I have been looking forward to this podcast with them. I have David and Tina, and a lot of you have met David and Tina before. We're all kind of in the same sphere of influence, but for the listeners today that's never met them, I want to give the floor to them for a few minutes just to do a brief summary of kind of an introduction of who they are, and then we're going to dive into some questions. So David and Tina, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and kind of just tell a little bit about yourself and who you are and how you got to Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Hey guys, I'm Tina, and I am what I call a recovering Yankee. I am from Maine, and we met actually in Canada, and traveled down south and was in South for quite a long time. And, life happens. And so we run a newspaper in Louisiana, and that's where we first got our start working together.
Yeah. And you may be wondering, why Maine? How did they end up meeting in Canada and Maine and all of that? Well,
that's what I was going to ask. How Canada? Yeah.
So I was in the Air Force and stationed up in northern Maine, about 15 minutes away from where she was living. But the clubs in Canada allowed you to go in at 19. The drinking age was 19. So we ended up meeting in a club. Actually, we were fixed up together on a blind date and meeting at this club in Canada, and then just really started hanging out. And I would say that our relationship, while it was romantic, it was also very friendly. We were almost, I won't say friends first, but it was like at the same time.
That's awesome.
And I did the thing that you should never do, and that is I took my baby away from her mama and daddy all the way down to the panhandle of Florida, where I started my newspaper career. And we had to learn real quick to rely on each other, and because we were our only circle.
Right.
I was in a new community. She was in a community that, quite frankly, didn't accept her Yankeeism. And so we grew from there, and then moved to Louisiana in '93. I started working in a newspaper there, ended up hiring her to work with me. And because let me tell you, your wife never works for you. And I had to learn that the hard way. It's
Correct.
works with me. And yeah, that's kind of been our story, is just that we've been relying on each other. And to fast forward 30 years, we started a health journey together and decided that was an area that we wanted to impact other lives in as well, and started this health coaching business together. So it's really been gosh, we're going on 33 years of togetherness. Hasn't always been rosy, obviously, but it's been, we make this joke that we say the only way out of this thing's in a body bag. And that's really, when you have that attitude about it, there's nothing that'll come your way that is not, that you can't overcome.
Right. And then being 28 years in Louisiana,
what do you think about
our kids were like, hey, we've had a couple events up in Tennessee, and our boys came to us, they're grown, and said, we want our family to move to Tennessee. And we were like, wow. No, we need to pray about this, figure this out. But, God was preparing us for a journey of a lifetime. It took us probably 4 months to decide. And God just opened door after door after door. And we are here in Tennessee now, loving life and helping and meeting several new people.
That's awesome. You guys have, from what I've already heard, like, I knew a lot about you. I had no clue you guys met in Canada. I learned more about you every time I meet and talk to you guys. I absolutely love you guys as a couple. That's why I was so excited for you to get on here and share your story. But I know one thing that a lot of people, you said you took your wife away from the family. A lot of people, I say that is kind of hard, especially nowadays when there's like blended families. That would be hard to do. But if you don't have kids already and you're getting married, I think that's kind of a good thing, because you learn to figure it out on yourself and you're not dependent on anybody else. So I think that it may have been hard, but I think it set you guys at an advantage at an early age, because you guys became each other's backbone for each other and you formed something unique together. And if you're out there, you're listening and you're getting ready to get married or you're thinking about marriage and you're like, well, we're going to be moving away from our family, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And this couple right here is a testimony to that, because that's something that I didn't realize that you guys had done. I mean, I just assumed that you had family, nearby with you, but that just goes to show you with your testimony how strong and powerful it is to your relationship and your marriage and your business. Not only did you move away, but you also started a business together. You brought her in as a partner. Good wording with your words there, David. You didn't hire her to work for you, but to work with you. Men, take notes with that, your wording and everything.
Yeah, I understand. I wasn't that wise at the time.
Yeah.
I hired her to work for me, but learned real quickly I better consider it work with me.
That's right. That's right. At least you live and you learn there. So let me go to you. You gave a great synopsis, really, probably the best ones we ever had, because it's hard to do, to give all those years. How do you put it in such a short story like that? But you really hooked the audience here. If I'm a listener, I'm digging in here to some more questions with you guys. So let's go back to where you're starting the newspaper together, right? How did that go when you started working together? I mean, were there times that it was kind of an adjustment period, or y'all just kind of got in there together and got your hands dirty? Tell the listeners about that a little bit.
We came to Louisiana because the newspaper needed help. It is a family newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And we came, and I was told that I was going to work temporary part-time.
Right.
And fix a mess that I had no clue about.
Right.
But it had some what we don't argue. We
Right.
call it intense fellowship.
Absolutely.
And there was a lot of intense fellowship, because the way I grew up, I was told you have to, and you will do, and you will, or whatever else. And I wouldn't take any direction or anything once I got to my own self and got old enough. I was like, you will not tell me what to do. And I had to figure that out, that it wasn't a problem with authority and making me. I had to change my mindset with that, because you always bring up your past, right? Or something triggers it. And it took a while to be able to actually work hand in hand together and figure that out.
Yeah. The first go around, I mean, when you look at it, and you have to understand, this was 93. This is not the team building, everybody learned personal development, leadership development. This was, you had a boss and you had employees, and the boss, whatever the boss said went. That doesn't work in this relationship. No. So I would go up and say, you need to do this. And she'd be like, the heck I will, kind of thing, bucking up, because I was acting as a boss, but I couldn't boss her. That wasn't what would work. And what we did is we started finding some workarounds. Like if I couldn't go directly to her, I would use a third party to say, look, this is what I see that needs to happen, but she's not going to receive it from me if I say this is what needs to happen. So how can we frame it? How can you go suggest it or bring it to it? Now, when the rubber meets the road, if I had to establish something and say, by goodness, you're gonna, we got to do this, and you know what, it's on me if it doesn't work. I could do that. But for the normal day-to-day, maybe it's, I don't know, clean up your desk, whatever, the little day-to-day things that irritate you, you got to figure out what hill you're willing to die on, right? And so what we found was that she was really, really good at working with people and organizing people and getting a task done. And so I always celebrated her strengths and said, babe, I need you in this arena doing this thing. And then the weak areas, you know what? You have to say, nobody's going to do the job the way you would do it. So understand that going in. As long as the job gets done to a certain level of competence, efficiency, and excellence, then it doesn't have to be the way you would do it. And so we started working like that together, and it started working really well. And what I found was she then started spreading out into other areas. Her lane was circulation, but all of a sudden she saw places where she could help in advertising. And she's like, look, I want to go, help these people in advertising. And I'm like, go, babe, this is your wheelhouse. Let's do this thing. And so but it took a while. Again, this wasn't a matter of days, weeks, or months. This was probably 3 years into it before we realized what the right flow for us would be working together. Also, one thing that helped us, and I think Tina will attest to this, our areas of operation were on opposite ends of the building.
Yeah.
So we weren't in each other's face all day long.
Right.
We were
That makes
sharing
sense.
an office. We weren't even, so if I had to say something to her, if I wasn't picking up the intercom phone and saying something to her, I had to get up out of my office, walk all the way across the building, and and same for her. So that walk helped you think through what you were about to say in order to not, to be able to address the situation without, going off on the wrong foot.
And
Yeah,
remember,
sounds-
we were 23 years old trying to figure this out. So we were
yeah.
young at that time.
And we could say as much as we want to about, oh, we keep work at work and home at home now. No, stuff would come home all the time. And then I would get busy with other things. She was pregnant with our first son when we moved there. So all of a sudden I'm stepping into these things that are requiring more hours. She's going home with the baby. And all of a sudden it became a whole nother dynamic that we had to work through. But again, it was always, what can we do together to work through this thing together? Not, you do your thing, I do my thing, and I think a lot of couples really find it weird that we actually enjoy spending time together. We like doing things together. We like going places together, even if it's, do I love shopping? No. Will I go shopping because I'm spending time with my wife? Absolutely. And then maybe I'll buy a pair of Hokas. So but that's the thing. Because of how we worked together, we had to learn how to be together and enjoy being together. Otherwise, we were going to end up killing each other.
Right.
I mean, that's just the thing about it.
Well, that's exactly what I was kind of wanting you to dip in on that, because, I think we've actually, both of you guys, we've talked about this before. You have to understand your partner's love language in so many ways. And it's not just how to love them, it's also how to have a disagreement with them, how to communicate with them. And I think so many people are so dying on their own heel, as you say, of I'm right, I'm not budging here. If I've always done it my way, being single, now I'm in this relationship, now I got this marriage, now I got this baby, whatever. No matter what you're in, whether you're dating, in a marriage, whatever, you're going to have to learn to communicate with your partner, like you said, and what works and what doesn't work. Like, is it going to be this way? But if you do communicate and you're pointing out things, make sure you're also building them up and praising them as well. And it sounds like it's exactly what you did. Even in times where you had to disagree, you also brought strengths in there. And by doing that, by praising Tina, she was able to find other strengths that she was good at within the business, and probably want to help more too, because if you're tore down all the time as a partner, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to shut down and bubble up. So you guys figure that out at such a young age that so many people don't figure out, even with the therapy and help nowadays. You guys didn't have access to, So get on you guys. That's awesome. I want to talk a little bit. I know we're jumping ships a little bit, but I want to try to get as much in here in the time that we have here together. What led you? We know that you're very big into your health journey and you love helping others and you're so passionate about it. If you know these people, they're going to bring this up because it's on their hearts. They want to help you make that change as well. What led you to your breaking point of saying, enough is enough. I'm ready to make a change in my health?
Well, to start off with, the year that we decided to get healthy, my dad had a massive heart attack. And it seems like I am going right down the road with whatever he has. It feels like I'm hereditary stuff.
Right.
So I was like, that was the first eye opener. And I called my friend and I was like, what are you doing? Because then I started noticing, you talk about it and it gets on Facebook, right? You start seeing whatever.
Right.
So I asked my friend about it and she told me about the program she was doing. And I was like, no, we can do this ourselves. I'm going to do it myself. Well, 4 months into our self that we thought we were eating healthy, which is, oh my gosh, so crazy. But I got
eating healthier.
Yeah.
We were splitting stuff and it wasn't healthy. Okay. But anyways, I had blood work done and I was on 4 shots a day for diabetes. And the doctor was like, I don't know what we're going to do for you. We can up the shots. I was already paying $850 a month. So I have tried everything. I went everything, every diet you can imagine I did. And so I went to him, I said, I need to try this. And he said, nope, you've done it all. You've quit within 2 weeks. You can't do it. And so I said, I think I need to do this one. And he said, fine. If you're doing it, I'm going to jump in for 30 days with you, only to hold you accountable. But then, and this is his exact words, I'm going to go back to eating my bacon double cheeseburgers because I'm fat and happy.
Right. Yeah.
It's
easy that way. Right.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, he was a guy that didn't eat vegetables, not one time. So he ate corn, and that's not a vegetable. So I was like, oh, this is going to be tough. And so he looked at me and he said, whatever you put in front of me, I will eat. And we didn't get heavy because I'm not a good cook.
Right.
You can look at my family. I love to cook. And it was a journey to start out with. It really was.
Yep. And I'll say something too, because it kind of ties into the beginning of our discussion today. Tina and I, because we are so close, believe that we can do anything we set our mind to together, as long as we're together in it. Okay. But what we learned was on the health part of it, even together, we weren't strong enough to do all the things that needed to be done. We would convince each other that we didn't need to go to the gym today, or we would convince each other that we deserve to go get chicken strips at Cane's together. We'll split a big one instead of getting our own, we'll make excuses together. And bringing a coach into that scenario, which we didn't really even know at the time that was going to be the game changer for us, but bringing a coach in through the health program that we did and currently do was just a huge thing for us. And that's probably why we've pivoted so hard in doing it ourselves, is because we realize that there's a lot of people out there that want to do the right thing, that want to contend for their health, that even may have the tools to do so, but they just need that coach in their life to hold them accountable and ask them, even if it's no more than sending them their weigh-in every week, whatever it is. That coach made a huge difference. And that was really the eye-opener for us. It wasn't the losing weight, but it was the lessons learned, the habits built, and the accountability and actually friendships that have been blossomed out of this coaching experience.
And the experience that you had 3 weeks in, he was already off blood pressure medicine and feeling so good that he said, I can't stop. So he changed his mindset within 30 days. And that's how it continued with our journey.
I think that is so good that you said that, because, I've been a part of your health plan as well. And I will say that once I made the decision of just being sick and tired, I always say all the time, even to my clients, I'm coaching people, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when you change. That's when things happen, right? Because you've tried the other diets, you tried other things, you were feeling like crap, you were on medicine, $800 a week of medicine, or however a month, whatever. And that to me, to this day, like we're from the South, I love some good fried chicken. I love some good, some good desserts. So I think we talked about Easter, how you're going to make dessert, and you make an excuse like, oh, I'm just going to do it because it's a holiday, or I'm going to do it because it's this, or I'm going to do it because it's that. And then you feel absolutely terrible. You have mind fog, you have gut issues, which healing your gut heals a lot of different things, which I know you guys can attest for that as well. And if people, they just don't know, because they've never been taught, and I think that's great that you guys are an advocate to tell these people like, hey, there's a different way to do this. It is a little bit of sacrifice, but you're going to feel so much better. Your mental health's going to be better. Your gut's going to feel better. Your overall health's going to be better. To me, it's worth the sacrifice sometimes. And I have to remind myself sometimes before I go and eat that sundae or eat that slice of cake, that you do feel better when you make these changes. And your program that you have is so easy to follow, and the community of people that are just there for you, even as a friendship. And I will say, I met you guys, and Doug and Tia and everybody through that program, and it's some really lifelong friends that are just been a blessing for sure.
Absolutely. And I believe too that, one of the things we teach, and it's taught through our program, but I think we teach it even harder, and that is the idea of extreme ownership of your decisions.
Mhm.
You know, don't, you say like, okay, when you eat the sundae, you feel like a failure. Yeah, okay, great. But own that decision. Say, look, I'm going to decide to eat a sundae today. And whatever the consequences are, I own that. Because that level of empowerment that it brings to you, because all of a sudden now you're not a victim to food or a victim to your addiction or a victim to your habit. Now you're in control of the decision. And I believe that when you take that extreme ownership, now all of a sudden, okay, yeah, I decided to eat a sundae today, but I'm getting back in structure the very next
There you
meal.
go. You're not done. You're not defeated, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, if you're
You're gonna have
defeated,
to,
you just throw your hands up and you're done,
absolutely.
right? You stop.
You're gonna have
But
to live with the consequences. But yeah,
right.
yeah.
So because I don't think, addiction, even in food addiction, is always there. Okay.
Mhm.
It's always there. You're always one or two decisions away from just sliding down the slippery slope. But here's what I love about it is that as you move through this journey and you build better habits, the addiction, it becomes a smaller pull on you.
Right.
It's always there, and sometimes you give into it, but
Right.
the pool is so much smaller. And like you said, you get the mind fog and you feel like crap, and you're like, oh yeah, now I remember why I quit doing this.
Right.
And now instead of being in the victim triangle, you're becoming into the empowerment triangle where you're like, okay, I know what it did, I know how I felt. Let's move on and go towards the goals again. And that, to me, that's the coolest thing, because nobody's perfect. Good Lord. People think a journey looks like this, and it's like this.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and when you go in knowing that, but you have the power and the control and the empowerment to make your decisions each and every day, whether it's a right decision or a wrong decision, it's still yours. You still get to own that, and you still have the power to make the next decision.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Figured out that it was my choice and
Mhm.
I got to control this, because there's certain things in life that you can't have control over, but you know that you have control over this. It made a big difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. Listeners out there, I want you to hear me when I say this. If you're thinking about a health journey or whatever, I want you to listen to them and reach out to them, because even if you don't do what they're doing, they're going to have advice and wisdom for you. But I also want you to hear me when I say that this couple right here has been through the trenches together. They know what it's like to start a business together. They know what it's like to stay together during hard times, how to raise a family, how to do multiple moves. And I really want y'all to zone in on this when you listen to David and Tina on this podcast. And if you have questions, reach out. I feel like, and I told David and Tina this when I told them I wanted them to be on the podcast and I wanted to work with them, is I not only want them to talk about their health journey and how to educate people in health to be healthier, but I want them to be a mentor for young couples or even older couples that are struggling in their relationship, because I feel like we don't have a lot of good examples anymore, people that just stick together, because we live in such a microwave society where people just want to quit when things are hard. And I think that's so important that's why I always ask them about their relationships, or we do videos on their relationships or whatever, because I think that's so important and people are craving that knowledge from people that really know how to break it down in a way for people to understand it. So David, let me ask you, I know we're getting short on our time, but let me ask you a question, especially for men. A lot of men that I coach sometimes, and a lot of women that I coach sometimes, they come into encounter with men that have either had moms abandon them or dads abandon them, and vice versa for women as well. So, but I can speak for the women's side. So I'm asking you as a guy, if you're a man, if you have advice to give a man that's getting ready to start a relationship or is in a relationship with a young lady, what would be an advice that you would give them going into how to treat a woman, how to love a woman?
I would say this, and this is certainly not I didn't come up with this, but I've learned it over the years, and that is, don't treat the woman in your life like you want to be treated. Don't try to meet her needs in the way that you feel like you want your needs met. So, because we all have different love languages. If you've ever read the book, you understand this. And something that's insignificant to you may be major to her. So I'll give you an example. When Tina's not getting up before me to go to work out, when I go make my coffee in the morning, I go ahead and make 2 cups and I carry it into the bedroom. Now everybody's like, oh, you take your wife coffee in bed. But as far as a task goes, it's insignificant
Right.
to me. It's
Mhm.
very significant to her.
It means a lot. Yeah.
You know, if acts of service are their love language, you know, acts of service are not my love language. You can do all kinds of things for me, and it's, you know, okay, great, thank you, move on, you know. But for her, it's a big deal. So because it's not a big deal to me, don't diminish it in her eyes, and vice versa. So if you're going into a relationship, you really need to learn what your partners, how they receive love. What are the ways that you can express, you know, love, consideration, caring to them without, you know, and again, don't put yourself into it. And that's sometimes difficult. I'll give you an example, and this is kind of funny. So you see somebody gets hurt. What do you want to do? You want to run up to them, go, "Oh, you're okay." Not this one. If you see her get hurt, you give her a minute. Then if she asks you to come over, then you come over. I remember we were playing couple softball with the church one time, and she was pitching. She got nailed in the leg by a line drive, and everybody started to go, and I'm like, whoa, people. And they're like, no, we got to go see. I said, don't poke the bear. Let's give her a second. And then, you know, she got up, dusted herself off. That's just her nature. Not every woman's like that, obviously. But what I'm saying is, once you learn those things about your partner, make note of it, and then and then continue to do that. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Once you start understanding what matters to them and being able to foster that, it'll draw you that much closer.
That's great. That's awesome. And, you know, letting that pride go sometimes is men and women. I think we all have this pride where we're not going to do this because, you know, we're not, you know, this will be unmanly of me, or this will be too much of me as a woman. But I think if you let that go and you do what's the best interest of your partner, you're going to be very successful in your relationship. So, Tina, let me ask you that question from a woman's perspective. How can you show, you know, to a man that's, you know, emotionally tough or whatever, that's been hurt a lot, or even abandoned by a lot of men that I coach have been abandoned by their mom. They have mom issues, you know. That's another segment for another day. I can go on and on about the people that I work with. What would be, how do you love a man in that situation as a woman? What do you do?
You have to meet them where they're at, obviously, also, and learn. Men are more physical, but there's times where every night we're watching our show before we go to bed or whatever, I am laying on his shoulder and I feel that there's a connection, you know what I mean? He decides he wants to go play golf. You know what? Actually today, he's like, no, I can't. I'm like, why not? Well, because he's trying to take care of, we have family and make sure everybody's okay. And I'm like, go. So you have to watch their needs and be able to meet them, even in their physical needs. You need to be there for them. A lot of couples struggle with that, definitely. And it's a learned thing that you have to go through. Even because of how I grew up in different stuff. And my dad was tough. He was a tough man and he was an alcoholic. So to come out of to watch your family that wasn't a great relationship and you try to break that curse, it was because of God that we're together right now. I truly believe that wholeheartedly, because we should have been done a long time ago. Definitely. I'm going to be honest, you know, but because we didn't give up on each other, and now, you know, we do dishes together. You know, half of my family can't believe that he actually we don't have to ask each other. We do it together. Wow. You know, we cook together. He does the grilling. I do, you know, we just do things all together more than any other couple, I think, most of the time. And it feeds off each other. You know what I mean? I've never been, probably in the last 5-6 years, we've never been sick and tired of hanging out with each other.
Right.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if we've ever been sick and tired. Sometimes you need your own space. Don't get me wrong.
Well, that's understandable.
But people can't believe that we are constantly hanging out. And I said, there was a time, and when we became empty nesters, you know, when people become empty nesters, they lose themselves. They don't know what to do. But we prepared for that, I believe, in doing date night every Friday night or once a week, because sometimes we have to pivot. But date night, date your mate. It's important. And another thing, don't talk about the kids or anything else. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? To do that sometimes, but doing fun things. I collect Ray Dunn stuff and I'm looking for a pig and I can't find one. Okay.
I'll keep looking for it because I'm looking all the time for stuff.
Yes. And we have 200 coffee cups, everything on it. But that's our joy of going finding these different places in different states that we do things like, I mean, it's weird stuff, but it's, you get something in his mind that you want or need, and he is constantly looking, you know what I mean? And it keeps the fun in it.
Yep.
I believe it keeps, just different things.
Yeah. And it
Now,
makes it feel like he's needed. Yeah.
I want to go back to something she said though, too. We had a lot of struggles early on in our marriage, probably the first 10 years or more. Okay. I mean, this isn't a picture perfect marriage by any stretch of imagination. But one of the things we did is we said, you know what, we've got to keep our relationship with God right. If we keep our relationship with him right, he will help us with our relationship with each other.
Right.
And it's amazing how many insights you do get in times of meditation and prayer of things that you either, I mean, I've apologized for things that were probably days old that didn't even strike me as an issue until I got praying. And then God's like, yeah, you need to go. That kind of hurt her when you did that. And because I'll tell you, I'm not necessarily a social butterfly, but I am social in certain circles, and I can ignore her when I'm in those circles, which is off-putting. Right. I can say things that fly out of your mouth that aren't uplifting about her in front of her. I mean, I'm just being honest here.
Right.
So,
you're human, right?
So knowing this in this process and being willing to take that pride down and say, look, babe, I'm sorry, I was way out of line there, or babe, that didn't come out the way I intended, or I don't know why I said that. Owning that also brings a closeness, because now you're like, okay, he does value me to the point of apologizing when he screws up. And I think that goes a long ways. And really and truly, the conviction that comes, from up above about those things really does open up your eyes and open up your opportunities to draw closer as a couple.
And always to remember that you love each other. Okay. Yeah. But it's okay to say, I love you, but I don't like you right now. Right. You know what I mean? Because it's not a perfect, it's two people working together. It's not even 50-50. It's 100% of two people working together. And not giving up on each other and giving them the space when they need it and loving them harder when they need it.
I love that. Loving them harder when they need it. Because that's hard to love somebody when you're mad at them. But that just makes it even more special, because they're going to see that, man, you know what? I might be acting a little punk today, but they're still showing me grace. They're still showing me love. And somebody that's never had that before can be a complete game changer in their life for sure. Well, you guys have just been a blessing to my life. I know you've been a blessing to everybody that's heard this podcast today. If you are listening and you would like to know more information on their health journey, or if you need some coaching in your relationship, I'm kind of self-making them relationship coaches as we speak. But when I met them, I was just like, I just felt God. I know it's God pushing me in that direction with this couple, because you're very real. You don't sugarcoat. I love that about you guys, but you make it very easy for people to understand. You don't point a finger saying you're doing it wrong, but how can I help you do it better? And because, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I love helping people. Sometimes through our mistakes, we can help people from what we've been through, so they won't have to make the same mistakes that we have. Right. So really quick, David, I know you have a book that just came out. Can you do a little plug for our listeners on that book, please? This is a good one, guys.
Old Dogs, New Tricks. Anybody can awakening and cultivating leadership at any age. This is geared for anybody who is around my age, can be younger, can be older. They find themselves in a world that they don't understand. And how do you take timeless principles and apply them in a real world way? That's really what this book is about. But again, it's available on Amazon. And it's been, I call it version 2.0 because the version 1.0 of anything pretty much sucks. So I had a version 1.0 went out, retweaked it, and it really was rewritten during COVID.
Right.
because our world changed a lot during COVID, and we all felt like we were out of place. And so this just has some great leadership and actually relationship principles for people who believe that the second half of their life can be as good or better than the first half.
I love it. I love it. How can they get in touch with you about your health journey, or if they want to talk to you about anything else, how can they find you guys on social? Just tell them all.
Yep. Spechthealth.com is our website that you can learn all about how we did what we did and some stories of some of our clients. You can follow me at David A. Specht just about anywhere on social. You're
Tina
Specht at just about anywhere. Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, David A. Specht. I do a daily live show on there and podcast called Keep This in Mind. So yeah, if you want to find us, you can find us.
Yes.
And there's a lot that we like to bring to people when we do.
And also you can find them at our Unstoppable Mastermind coming up in August. They're going to be one of my speakers for that. So you definitely will have ticket information for that coming out pretty soon in the next month or so. So have to come listen to them speak. You can ask them questions, meet them personally. And in the meantime, buy that book. Listen to them on that, listen to the audio version, or buy the book and have them sign it at the event. So who knows? Tina may have a book out before then. Who knows, right? She's gonna hate me. I'm always like this, but anyways, it's okay. Well, thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you listeners for tuning in again. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We are on all podcast channels, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, you name it, we're on there. And we'll be coming to you soon with another Unstoppable podcast. You guys have a great day.